From futuristic cities, to past settings, to modern day worlds. Throughout the history of gaming there has been a lot of open world titles released over many different franchises and different iterations. But the question is, which of these open worlds do I think has connected with me the most? So, that's what I'm going to be working at in today's list. So, in today's top 10 list, I will be counting down what I think are my top 10 open worlds in gaming. Now, I should state that this is nothing to do, well, for the most part, this is not to do with the gameplay, the graphics, or the story of a game. This is based on how a world looks, how a world feels, and well, you kind of get the idea. The other disclaimer I'll be making is that there will be no DLC worlds in this list, so these will be standard. These will be like the standard worlds in the game. So, for example, if I were to say a game from the Fallout series, only the standard world would be eligible. The DLC worlds would not be included in this list. Never know, I might make a separate list saying top 10 DLCs, but you never know. So anyway, so let's count down what I think are my top 10 open worlds in video games. Number 10, Test Drive Unlimited 2. So I should mention this straight out the gates, but this is the only top 10 game that I don't actually have footage for, because I only have the PS3 copy and obviously I can't transfer files from there. So just please bear that in mind. So yes, Test Drive Unlimited 2 is basically an expansion of the first Test Drive Unlimited title, which is set on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. Well, one of the Hawaiian islands, sorry. Yes, so Test Drive Unlimited 2, it basically adds the island of Ibiza. So that's the reason why I've decided to put Test Drive Unlimited 2 on this list. The first one, the original Test Drive, is one of my favourite games of all time. And the fact that they expanded it with another island makes the world more enjoyable. Now, granted, the game itself, I don't think it's quite as good as the original. There are a few flaws. But I'd say world-wise, it is a little bit of an improvement over the original. And that's why it's number 10 on this list. Number 9, Fallout New Vegas. So this is actually a game which I've only played in the last few months before recording this video, and I have to say it's a really enjoyable world to explore. Now, I was debating about putting Fallout 3 on this list, but there's a couple of reasons why I decided to go with Fallout New Vegas. Firstly, I'd say the colours. The colours overall is slightly brighter than Fallout 3's dim, greyish kind of setting. And especially when you get to the strip at the centre of New Vegas, it's pretty colourful compared to some of the other Fallout games. Second, the world itself is actually fairly big to explore. You've got multiple different areas such as New Vegas, Hoover Dam, and also small settlements like Good Springs and Preem. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yes, overall, I just enjoyed exploring the world. But the main reason I put Fallout New Vegas on this list instead of Fallout 3 is simply for one reason. Washington in Fallout 3 is really annoying to explore because you have to go through all the individual subways. With Fallout New Vegas, you don't really have that complication. You just go in the city, go out, and that is why I put it at number 9 on this list. Number 8, Minecraft. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is a little bit of a cheat on this list. However, it is technically an open world sandbox, so I had to include it. So, of course, with Minecraft, most people know it's one of the best selling games of all time, and you can probably see why. You can pretty much do and create whatever you want in this game. So whether it's build a house, build a farm, which is what I do, or maybe it's just something silly like building a massive glass statue in the, I don't know, in the ocean or something like that. You can do that. Actually, that's an interesting idea. Anyway, regardless. So yes, Minecraft is basically a game, is just a massive open world which you can shape to your imagination. So that's why I think it deserves a place on this list. However, the only reason it's not higher is because the majority of games on this list is games that have already been made, like already been set. Minecraft is a game which, the world constantly changes, so you could have a good layout, or maybe sometimes you could have a bad layout. So that's the reason why Minecraft is on this list, but it's in 8th place. Number 7, Arkham City. So with this one, this is definitely one of the greatest superhero games ever made, but this list isn't necessarily about whether a game is good or whether its story is any good. This is just about the open world. So with this, I had the choice of whether to put this one or Arkham Knight on the list, but in the end, I feel like Arkham City kind of sums up Batman better than Arkham Knight's Gotham, mainly because I think Gotham is actually too bright. Well, I think Arkham City is like that right balance of variety with like different places such as like the museum, the courthouse, the subway, Wonder Tower, places like that, but also giving it a gritty feel with the outside as well, which Batman of course is one of the most gritty superheroes out there. So and also just basically to explore, there's a lot of Easter eggs scattered around the place, so and just to fly in, it's always a nice place to revisit, and that's why it's number 7 on this list. Number 6, Fallout 4. Personally, my favourite open world game of all time. It's like I said earlier with Fallout New Vegas, you have one Bethesda title which you fall in love with basically, and for me, this was Fallout 4. So Fallout 4 I've played almost more than any other game in history. We'll get to what number 1 is in a minute actually. But yeah, so Fallout 4, initially this was actually going to be high on the list, but the more I thought about it, the reason I play Fallout 4 is mainly for the gameplay and story, not necessarily for the world itself. But the world itself does have some nice features. It has, obviously it's got the glowing sea where some nukes have fallen. It's got the coastline, which actually with mods does look picturesque. I should mention the footage you're seeing does have a few visual mods added, so it might not look quite like this if you play it. And of course it has Concords, Diamond City, Sanctuary Hills. It's got a lot of places which I've been to quite a lot. And yes, Fallout 4 for me is easily the game I've modded the most, and there are some really stunning visual mods out there to make the most of this landscape. But like I said, by default, I think this is a fun world to explore, but there are some better open worlds, I think. So that's why it's number 6 on this list. Number 5, Forza Horizon 4. Now for years I generally thought there would not be a racing game that would ever top Test Drive Unlimited or Test Drive Unlimited 2, until I discovered Forza Horizon 4 in the summer of 2020. So with this map is based on a little bit of a mixture of a couple of elements. It's based on England's Lake District, and it's also based on the Scottish Highlands and of course the city of Edinburgh. So for me, it's already got a nice mixture of British influences. For me though, probably the most unique thing about this map is the fact that it can actually change with the type of seasons. So you see, because with this game you get all 4 seasons, you get spring, autumn, summer, but most notably you also get winter. So one of the most interesting things is in the winter season the water actually freezes, so you can actually drive on like lakes, so that makes it quite interesting. Also, of course, some of the landmarks are quite significant in this game, such as the Glenfinnan Viaduct, Edinburgh itself, some of the castles. So yeah, it's a very nice world to drive around in, and that's why I think it's number 5 on this list. Number 4, Marvel's Spider-Man. For years, Spider-Man fans have just wanted a game which they can just swing around the city of New York as Spider-Man and go pretty much wherever they want. And this game does that and more. So this is a modern interpretation of what would happen if modern New York was a mixture of the Spider-Man universe as well. So in this city you've got real life landmarks such as the Brooklyn Bridge, Madison Square Garden, the Statue of Liberty which you can see in the distance. But you've also got Marvel-related areas such as Oscorp and Avengers Towers. You've also got some nice references to the MCU in Sanctum Sanctorum, which is Doctor Strange's Sanctuary. And you've also got a nice reference to Wakanda with the Wakandan Embassy. So yeah, it's a nice mixture of real world New York and Marvel New York, and this is definitely one of the best cities I've ever played in the game. Sometimes it's just nice to just jump in the game and just go around the city, I will be honest. But I do feel like there is one or two, I do feel like there's one or two limitations with the city, mainly activities, so that's why it's number 4 on this list. Number 3, GTA 5. So for me, this has been the hardest top 3 to make of any list I've ever made. All 3 of these worlds I like. They all have their pluses and not too many negatives for me. But in the end, I went with GTA 5 in 3rd place. So this is the money-making machine that just keeps making more money because they keep re-releasing it. Of course, they're going to be releasing it on next-gen PS5 and Xbox Series X later this year. So obviously they'll just keep making more money. It's a world that's constantly updated, but there are some key things which have always stayed the same. The St. George's Hotel and the Santa Monica Pier, along with Venice Beach. Obviously you got the Maze Bank Tower, which is based on the real tower in LA. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But yes, there are some real buildings as well, which I've done in a comparison list quite a long time ago, based on photos from in-game and from LA. And yes, so this world is loosely based on Los Angeles, and yeah, it's always a nice world to explore. But I think as the years have gone by, I've probably found less things to do, so maybe that's why it's number 3 on this list. Number 2, Watch Dogs 2. This was, like I said in the last entry, this was a very tough decision, but I had to go with Watch Dogs 2 in 2nd place. So Watch Dogs 2 is based on San Francisco, and it's one of the most accurate interpretations of an area I've come across. You see, in the previous Ubisoft game that was based in San Francisco, which was Driver San Francisco, some of the area wasn't quite right. With Watch Dogs 2, it definitely feels more accurate. From the landmarks to obviously Lombard Street, downtown, Alcatraz, and of course the Golden Gate Bridge, there is definitely a lot of real life references to San Francisco, which I feel like they've got right. The road layouts are pretty accurate as well, because I actually remember going on the Golden Gate Bridge quite a number of years ago, and the highway leading up to it is pretty much bang on the correct layout. So detail wise, it looks like this is definitely one of the, well, for me at least, this is one of the more accurate interpretations of a area or a city. Obviously, not everything is 100% accurate, because you can't really make something 100%. But this is one of the closest interpretations I've seen to a city yet. I really enjoy going around San Francisco. Even though some people say it looks too bright and too colourful, I actually kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that it looks like that. But yes, this was very close to making my number 1, but I had to settle with putting it 2nd place on this list. And taking the top honour on this list, we have, at number 1, Watch Dogs Legion. So with this, I had to go with Watch Dogs Legion in the end for one simple reason: it's London. So for years we've been wanting a GTA that's been set in the city of London, and this is probably the closest we're going to get for many years to come. So with Watch Dogs Legion, there's many accurate landmarks such as Westminster and Buckingham Palace, to Covent Garden, Camden Town, the Shard, Tower Hill, and there's a lot basically. There's a lot of real world London landmarks set in this city. So yeah, it's just really nice to explore. Also, I'm not sure if this is a gameplay feature, but compared to Watch Dogs 2, it feels a bit more lived in than San Francisco, because it feels like there's more NPCs, and also the fact that there's drones flying about makes the city feel a little bit more lived in. I suppose the only downside with Watch Dogs Legion compared to Watch Dogs 2 is the fact that there isn't really as big as an area to use boats, because the only area you can use boats in this game is the Thames, pretty much, unless there's one or two small canals. But overall, I'd say the fact that this is based on London, and that actually at the time that I was playing this game a lot, we in the UK were back in another national lockdown, so it definitely helped, because obviously the fact of the matter is I wasn't going to see London again for a very long time. So yes, it's a nice city to explore. It's got a lot of accurate landmarks, and for me personally, I think it is number one of my top 10 open worlds for video games.